Hariom children, in the last video, I was just giving you an introduction regarding diffraction. The two important points regarding diffraction are for diffraction to take place, the size of the slit must be very small. I had given you two activities to do at home. Hope you would have done and you would have observed the diffraction pattern. Diffraction, it is the phenomena of bending of light waves around the edges of the obstacle or slit and entering into the region of geometrical shadow. So we know what is diffraction and what is the condition. What is the condition? The size of the slit or obstacle must be around 10 power minus 7 meters. It must be around 10 power minus 7 meters. Only if the size of the slit is very small, we will be able to observe the diffraction pattern. Now in this class, we are going to do an experiment regarding diffraction, and it is called diffraction at a single slit. So in interference, we studied about Young's double slit experiment. Here, diffraction is taking place at a single slit. As you see in this figure, S is a monochromatic source of light. It is placed at the focus of a convex lens. So what is the advantage of placing it here? So that the rays are rendered parallel. When the rays are rendered parallel, the wavefront must be a plane wavefront. So now, in order to get a plane wavefront, we made the rays parallel by keeping a monochromatic source at the focus of the convex lens. Now, a plane wavefront, it is named as WW dash. It is placed, or a plane wavefront WW dash is incident on a small slit AB. A is the width of the slit. Now, according to Huygens principle, each and every point in this wavefront act as the source of secondary wavelets. All these secondary wavelets, they interfere constructively or destructively, and they produce a diffraction pattern on the screen, which is placed at a distance d from the single slit. First, we are going to find out what do we get at the point O, which is at the center of the screen. Now, in this figure, slit AB has a width A. Let us consider that this slit AB is divided into 12 equally spaced points. So what happens? Each point in this wavefront, see, this wavefront is incident on the slit. So each point in the wavefront acts as the source of secondary wavelets. So I have considered 12 such secondary wavelets. All these secondary wavelets, they travel the same optical path to reach the point O. All travel the same optical path to reach the point O in phase, which means that there is no path difference between the two interfering waves. Now, why is that we use a convex lens over here? All these waves, it can be converged to a single point using this lens L dash. So here, when you consider the point O, all the wavelets, they travel the same path, or they travel the same optical path to reach the point O in phase, and hence maximum intensity or maximum brightness is observed at the point O. So what is the condition for the point O to be of maximum intensity? Since the phase difference is 0 and since the path difference is 0, what do we get? The point O to be of maximum intensity. Now, if you consider any other point beyond O, let us consider the point P. And let theta be the angle of diffraction. As I already told you, when you have a small slit, the waves, they can travel in any direction. They can be diffracted at different angles. Now we are considering this angle of diffraction theta. First we considered all the wavelets traveling the same path and we got the maximum brightness. Now we are considering the angle of diffraction to be theta. That is, the waves are diffracted at an angle theta. What happens? What do you expect at the point P? Is it a maxima or a minima? Now if you consider a point, a wavelet from A, it is making an angle theta with this. Similarly, this angle is also theta. Similarly, this angle is also theta. Let me mark this point as C. Now, if you consider a wavelet from A and a wavelet from B, are they traveling the same optical path to reach the point P? No, isn't it? There is a path difference between the wavelet emerging from A and B, and this can be understood by dropping a perpendicular. When you drop a perpendicular, you can see that this is the extra path that is travelled by a wavelet coming from B compared to that is coming from A. And let us mark the foot of the perpendicular as N, and let this path difference Bn be represented by lambda. Okay, so what are we seeing now? We are going to find out what do you get at the point P, whether you get a maxima or a minima. For that, we consider that the wave is diffracted through an angle theta. Now the wavelets from A and B, they do not travel the same optical path to reach the point P, which means there is a path difference between the wavelet coming from A and B. This is found out by drawing a perpendicular. Once a perpendicular is drawn, from here all the wavelets, they travel the same optical path. So this is the extra path difference that is coming from the wavelet at B, and I have marked it as lambda. Let the path difference be lambda. Now you know that if the angle between any two lines is theta, the angle between their perpendiculars is also theta. So if I consider this line, the line perpendicular to this is this. If I consider this line, the line perpendicular to this is this. So since this angle is theta, this angle also has to be theta. So from this figure itself, you can calculate what is sine theta. Come on, tell me what is sine theta. So sine theta will be opposite side. This is the perpendicular, so this must be the hypotenuse. So what is sine theta? Sine theta will be equal to Bn. What is the other side? It is AB. So what is sine theta? You get over here sine theta. Bn, we have considered it to be some lambda. Wavelength is normally represented in terms of lambda. So you get lambda by A. Or you get A sine theta equal to lambda. So this is the condition for path difference between the wavelets emerging from A and B. Now even now we don't know whether the point P is of maximum intensity or of minimum intensity. We just calculated what is the path difference. Okay. Now in order to know that, once again come to this figure. Here we have divided the entire slit into 12 equally spaced points. Now if it is undergoing an angle of diffraction theta, which means this angle is theta. So what are we doing? What did we do here? We just dropped a perpendicular over here. When we dropped a perpendicular, we marked its foot by N, and I named this path difference to be lambda. Now what am I going to do? I am going to divide this entire slit into two equal parts. Now let this be marked as C. So let this be 1 and let this be 2. Now we know that the path difference between a wavelet coming from 0 and 12 is lambda. What will be the path difference between a wavelet coming from 0 and 6 in that case? It has to be lambda by 2. So when 0 and 6 interfere, you get a path difference of lambda by 2. Similarly, when 1 and 7 interfere, you get the path difference to be lambda by 2. Similarly, when 2 and 8, 3 and 9, 4 and 10, 5 and 11, 6 and 12. When all these waves interfere, you get a path difference of lambda by 2. This shows that for each point in the upper half, we have divided the slit into two equal halves. For each point in the upper half, there is a corresponding point in the lower half which interferes with the path difference of lambda by 2. So when the path difference is lambda by 2, when two waves are interfering with a path difference of lambda by 2, you expect a maxima or a minima. We have already studied under interference. That is, when the path difference is an integral multiple of lambda, you get a maxima. And when the path difference is an odd integral multiple of lambda by 2, we get a minima. Here again, the two waves which are interfering have a path difference of lambda by 2. Therefore, the point P must be of minimum intensity. And also you can see that a maxima must be always followed by a minima. So what is the condition for the point P to be of minimum intensity? This is the condition. That is, A sin theta must be equal to lambda. This is the condition for the path difference for the first minima. Now, if it is for the second minima or it is for the nth minima, you write A sin theta equal to n lambda, where n can be 1, 2, 3, etc. If n equal to 1, you get the first minima. When n equal to 2, we get the second minima. N equal to 3, we get the third minima, and so on. So this is the general condition for the path difference to be of minimum intensity. Now from this expression you can see that when we studied interference, when you get the path difference to be in terms of lambda, you must get a maxima. But in the case of diffraction, when the path difference is in terms of n lambda, we get a minima, which means the condition for maxima and minima is reversed in the case of interference and diffraction. Now, if this angle theta is very small, you can say that sin theta is approximated to theta. And this expression can be written as A theta will be equal to n lambda, or theta is equal to n lambda by A. So, this is the condition. Theta is the angle of diffraction. So, this is the condition for the first minimum.